What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Fantasy Football Addicts. I'm Dawson, and I'm joined by Nick and Wyatt as usual. And today we have a great video planned for you once again, and it's going to be another one man's Dynasty breakdown. But this time we're done with the draft, and we're going to break down all the trades that have transpired in the month since the draft. So, and knowing us, knowing how much of degenerate traders we are, there have been a lot of trades. So, with that being said, do y'all have anything to say?
I have a problem, and it's trading.
Yeah. We all just trade for the heck
We
of it,
all need
and
to go to rehab.
It's a problem, but we're okay with the problem because it's fantasy football and it's all we have.
I'll say we're a month out of our draft in one man's dynasty, and I've probably made double-digit trades already.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of trades. But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna mainly break down the trades that one of us was involved in, but we're gonna touch on all the trades, but most of the ones we give the in-depth breakdown and player analysis about are gonna be our personal trades that we made with each other and with other members of our league. So that way we can talk to you about our trade strategies for our team, because all of us have different styles of play and all of us have different strategies when we trade. So with that being said, all right, so just a reminder, we're going to touch on our strategies after the draft and like why we made certain trades are all based on these strategies. So like, for example, I was buying, trying to win now. So all of my trades reflect that, how most of my trades, I'm giving away picks for certain assets and certain depth plays that I can use this season. Whereas Wyatt, his draft strategy got messed up. So he decided to try to win in the future. So he's trying to acquire picks. So Nick, what was your strategy again? You were kind of middle of the road, kind of.
Yeah, I was trying to plan to win year 2. I didn't want to take guys who didn't have very long left in their prime, but I didn't want to take guys who were just scrubs like Wyatt did. And Wyatt's like straight up going for the 101. I'm trying to stay in the middle a little bit, but stay young because I know they'll develop higher.
Yeah, so Nick is shooting for around the 4 seed to maybe sneak in the playoffs, maybe something crazy happens, but also have a long-term run, whereas I'm just trying to win as many in a row at the beginning. So with that being said, the first trade, a mere 25 hours after the draft ended, was a blockbuster. We had Wyatt give up A.J. Brown and a 2021 fourth to Mick, where Mick gave up Todd Gurley, 2021 first rounders, and a 2021 second. So guys, break down what you are trying to do here, and obviously why I was trying to get the picks. But Nick, why did you think A.J. Brown was worth that?
I honestly think A.J. Brown is the next Julio Jones. He only played 1 year so far. It's only been his rookie year, but his rookie numbers were almost spitting identical images of Julio Jones's rookie year. I think he's a great talent, and I think that he is worth the 2 picks that I gave up. And that's really what I gave up at the end, because Todd Gurley, who knows what happens after this year. I think they'll run him in the ground for 1 year, but after that, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think this trade was perfect on both sides because it gave Wyatt the picks, like just started the whole first round pick mission for Wyatt. And it also gave Mick a young guy that will win him 5 years down the road, and also someone that can help him win now, or at least compete now. Wyatt, we know you were just going for the first, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was obviously some strategy going into this. Obviously, my draft didn't go how I wanted it to. So I loved picking A.J. Brown and the value. I knew I could get rid of him or keep him if I wanted to, because he was having a rookie year. It's very rare to see rookie wide receivers go off like A.J. Brown did. Usually it takes them a while to get acclimated with their system and the league and just how good defenders are. So, yeah, I had no problem getting rid of him for the 2 firsts and a second. And then Gurley, I knew that I probably wasn't going to be holding on. I figured I would have him going into the season, but I didn't realize how active I was going to be in trading before the season. So I was able to get rid of him, which we'll see down the line. But at the time, I needed a running back. I was still like trying to contend at this point. Not really, but just like maybe have a shot at the playoffs. So I was like, hey, I'll get a running back, which is what I needed. But I ended up getting great value out of it. I think it was good for both me and Mick.
Yeah, this is a perfect trade, whereas I don't see a clear winner of the trade. I think it both fit both your teams very well. And so moving on, that takes us to my first trade the same night, about 3 hours later, and me trying to win now. I needed a flex player, and you all know that I'm really in on Robert Woods this year. I think a lot of us are. We like Robert Woods, and I went in big, swinging gave up 2 first rounds, a 2022 and a 2023, and a fourth for Robert Woods straight up. What do you guys think about this for me and for Ringo?
I really think that you gave up a little bit too much. Not by much. I wouldn't have given up 2 first rounders for Robert Woods, even though they are down the line. But a first and a second, that'd probably be my top price for Robert Woods. But I don't hate it because you're in win now mode.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a little much, but I think as how committed you are to winning this year, it's basically win or bust for you at this point. Um, Especially with the moves you made within the draft. So I don't hate it. I do think in our league that first are being a little undervalued, but Robert Woods is a great receiver. I think he's gonna have a great year, and I think if you win a championship this year, it's gonna be on the back of Robert Woods.
Yeah, he's my third flex option, which is really solid. It really rounded out my team well. So that takes us to the next trade, which was me again. The next day, less than 24 hours later, I decided to acquire Jonathan Taylor because Wyatt and Nick were all giving me crap about how my team had no depth and I was just going to lose after this year. I didn't have any youth, and that got in my head a little bit. And so I was like, I'm going to go get a young rookie stud to shut them up and show that I'm here to win for not just this year, but years down the line. So I went and I think I got a pretty good value for Jonathan Taylor. What do you guys
I
think?
think you gave up a sack of potatoes for one of the best running backs coming out of this draft this last year. Demarcus Robinson, a 5th round, a 4th round, a 2nd round in 2 years, 3 years down the line, and another 4th round. Like, that's nothing.
Yeah, these picks were pretty much. I mean, everyone knows this. These are rookie picks because this is a dynasty league, and who you're going to get in the 5th round of a rookie draft probably won't make your roster. So I'm really happy with the value I got for Jonathan Taylor. Especially, you'll see later what I ended up doing with Jonathan Taylor really makes me happy. So.
Yeah, I definitely think you stole Jonathan Taylor. Like, Patrick Mahomes signed his contract today, and he got paid the entire Lay's factory, and you had to pay a bag of chips for Jonathan Taylor. So I love that for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, especially because, well, no spoilers, but who ended up with Jonathan Taylor later on. So that takes us to the next trade, same day. This is with Jason Samuel, who is also in win now mode, trying to win this season. So he, as you can tell, Wyatt took advantage of that. And I think this was a good all-around trade for both sides. I think that Jason really needed a young quarterback, and he got a very good one in Kyler Murray, and Wyatt got a whole lot of value.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say I don't love this for Jason. Obviously, on my end, I liked it for the value I was getting. When I drafted Kyler, I was still in shock that Clyde got taken off the board, so it was kind of a panic pick. And I knew I was going to be able to get good value for him for this exact situation. And I think I covered that whenever we went over our draft. But yeah, so I think he had a low year last year, and I think that'll be kind of like his floor, and it wasn't terrible. So I think Kyler's ceiling is high, but I don't think it's worth it to give up what he gave up. I think he's adding maybe 5 points a week to his roster. Maybe I don't think so. So basically a Goff for Kyler straight swap, and I would say Kyler has the advantage there. Obviously, Jordan Love, I mean, that's questionable value. He'll ultimately be the guy in Green Bay, I think, but that's not for a couple years down the line. I had no problem acquiring him, and ultimately I knew he was going to end up getting dealt to Mick, so that's another reason I wanted to get him. Denzel Mims, great prospect receiver, also ended up going to Mick, but we'll get to that. And then the 2 first. Obviously, at this point, I think I had already acquired 2 first, the other first from Jason, and then Jason's 2022 first. His team is in win this year mode, and that's it. So I think next year he's going to struggle, and I will probably have the 101 going into 2022 draft, and I really like that value.
Yeah, I definitely like this value for both sides because I think Jason saw my trades that I was making, and he knew that he was in win now, and he knew he had to keep up. I think he saw that this was kind of becoming an arms race.
Absolutely, this was a pressure trade.
So
he saw you making moves, and he was scared.
I think he did get a good. I think I love Kyler, as you know, OU guy, and I know I had him on my team last year in my ship team, so I'm big on Kyler. I think Jason he may have overpaid just a little, but I think he was willing to do that because he knows he has to win now. I don't think it was a super bad trade for him. So that is going to take us to the next trade a couple of days later, and this was pretty much where Wyatt realizes he's going for every first-round pick of the 2021 rookie draft, and so he acquires Zach Nasty, which is Zach Carroll. He acquires his 2021 first for just Kerryon Johnson and a 2022 first.
This all happened within 3 days, by the way.
Yeah, this is the 3rd day after our draft. So quickly touch on, this is just pretty much common sense, but you wish wanted to pick, and you gave up a guy who you're not really high on.
Yeah, Carry-on's going to be, I think, getting less than half the carries in that backfield with DeAndre Swift. I don't love the Lions running game in general. And then the 2022 first, my 2022 first, I had no problem giving up for next year because I kind of decided I wanted all the first round picks for this coming year, the 2021. And my 2022, I didn't mind giving up because I had Jason's, who I think is going to be the 101. So I had no problem swapping those picks.
Yeah, pretty standard trade there. So that brings us to another trade. This one was a little bit longer. We kind of had a dead period of about a week, which was pretty long for us. And this was a trade that I didn't really think much of. I don't really see any losing side, any winning side. I'm just not huge on this trade in general. Mick, do you see anything that would kind of sway it to one side? I don't really see.
Okay, so I don't see a clear winner in this trade either, but it is Jason who's in win now mode, and I think Todd Gurley is a huge pickup. Atlanta is going to run him into the ground. It's a one-year deal. They don't owe him anything, so why not just run the man 300 times a game or 300 times a season? I like that. And then Tyler Boyd, I like Tyler Boyd a lot. I think part of it's because the last 2 times I've won, I had Tyler Boyd on my squad, and I think there's just a little space in my heart for Tyler Boyd. Other people don't see him the way I do, but that's just because he's my little Tyler Boyd.
So why what was your thinking behind this trade? Because you didn't really acquire anything crazy besides the 3rd round pick for your future. What were you thinking?
So basically, I was just at this point looking at my lineup and going, what can I do to make it better for next year? And I was really just trying to get rid of age. I like the value of Gurley, trading it to someone who was in win now mode, who's probably going to get ran into the ground this year and have no value next year. So I had no problem getting rid of him. I like Boyd. He's young, he's good. Tannehill, I was impressed by Tannehill last year. I don't think that he was going to be as fluky this year as people think. I don't know. I'm not a truther, but I think he'll be good. He'll be good enough, and he's 31, so he's got a few years, if anything. It was mostly about getting rid of age. Big Ben coming off surgery. Like, he's probably going to be a great quarterback this year. Who knows how long he's got. For me, it was getting rid of age. Got the pick. It's good value for me going forward.
Yeah, I don't hate it for either side. It was kind of a trade I looked at, and I was just like, okay, yeah. So that takes us to this trade right here, and this is pretty much irrelevant for us because we can't really break it down because none of us were involved. It's the first trade that none of us were involved in, and it's 17 days after the draft. So it took us 17 days to not be involved in a trade. But yeah, it's just 2 seconds for Kerryon Johnson. I don't really see anything else to say about that. And that takes us to the pivotal moment, I think, in my season, and that was Cam Newton signing with the Patriots. As we touched on in a previous video, if you haven't seen that, go check it out. We talked about the fantasy ramifications of Cam Newton. Me, though, I don't think any of us are super high on Cam Newton this year, besides maybe Wyatt for the Patriots purpose, but I don't think he thinks he's a top 5 QB this year. So I've solely picked up Cam Newton after the draft just to stash him in case he signs somewhere to deal him, because I'm not big on Cam Newton anymore. I think all of his value comes from running, and he's kind of hurt all the time. I'm not big on him, which we touched on, but I traded him for Drew Brees, which as a Saints fan, I just love Drew Brees, and he's big for win now. I think he's going to get me value as my QB4. So I got the 2021 first, not because I wanted it, but because I knew Wyatt wanted it. However, Wyatt wanted Zach Honey's. He valued his 2021 first more than he valued Ringo's, because he thinks Zach Honey is going to finish lower than Ringo this year, so his pick is going to be higher up in the draft. So I convinced Zach Honey to just swap me picks, 2021 first for 2021 first, because Zach Honey believes that his team is going to finish higher than Ringo's. So he's believing in himself, thinking he's getting a value going up and moving up in the round a little bit, whereas Wyatt sees it as him getting a better pick. So then immediately that night, less than 2 hours later, I flipped that 2021 first that I got for Zach Honey for Kareem Hunt and 2 third-round picks, one next year, one the following year. And I love this trade for both sides because Wyatt, one, gets a big pick for him, and it gives me Kareem Hunt, which really solidified my depth spots on my bench, because I think Kareem Hunt has standalone value this year, as we all know. And I think if he signs somewhere else or Nick Chubb goes down, he wins me the league for the next 2 or 3 years at least. So I think it's a big trade for me. And all in all, I ended up getting giving up Cam Newton and getting Drew Brees Kareem Hunt, and 2 third-round picks. So I think I got huge value for Cam Newton. What do you think about that quick series of trades that happened in about 24 hours?
I really like that for you. I think it's because all three of us are not very high on Cam Newton to begin with. And for you to be able to flip it for Drew Brees and Kareem Hunt, screw the picks for a second. That's great right there alone. Because I think Drew Brees is already better than Cam. And I think Kareem Hunt is an absolute monster. He's probably going to sign elsewhere. If he stays in Cleveland, that's fine because he's probably going to play slot receiver anyways. So
Right.
either way, it's a win-win situation for you.
Yeah, this was interesting for me. So obviously the first I liked the fact that you swapped up to Honeys, and I kind of knew at that point that I was going to be trading for that. I think the fact that you got Breeze for Cam, that's about even to me because I think Cam has potential value if he plays well this year. I do think Breeze will finish as a better fantasy quarterback. So as far as what y'all need for you and Ringo, I think that would have been even almost right away in itself. And then he added the first round pick, which is just crazy to me. And then Kareem Hunt mentioned or like publicly said that he liked it in Cleveland and wanted to stay there. And when I drafted him, I was assuming he was for sure going to sign somewhere else next year. So that hesitant to me. It helps you win now, possibly helps you a lot in the future, gives you youth, gives you a great running back. And I get the pick I wanted. I have no problem. I love this trade.
Yeah, I really do like this trade for Kareem Hunt for me. That's the most important part for me is Kareem Hunt because I think he really just solidifies back up. If someone goes down on my flex or something like that, I can pop Kareem Hunt in there and rely on probably double-digit points in PPR. So I'm really okay with that. The value I got for Cam was incredible in my opinion. So this takes us to Wyatt and Nick once again, and I think this trade was interesting. I'll let them talk about it. You guys tell me what you guys were looking for here.
So for me, I got a 2-for-1 deal basically. I like Sammy Watkins. I think he's a huge boom or bust type of guy, but if I just so happen to fill him in for a bye week and he booms that week, I just won that week because he is a big, huge boom, but there's a high bust chance. So that's why he's only going to start for me for bye weeks. I think Sterling Shepard has a pretty solid role that he's going to have, and I like Daniel Jones a lot. I also have Daniel Jones, so I have the double if I do start them both. And then I moved up in the draft, so I got a second and a third round pick. I like that value as well. And a fourth and a fifth to me are basically useless because the chances of you hitting a diamond in the rough are next to nothing. And for me, Marquise Brown, I really like the talent. I really like the player, but I don't like the offense for receivers. If I was a runner, like a J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram, Lamar Jackson, I love that offense. But for Marquise Brown, I don't love it. And I just was getting nervous about that, and still a month and a half away from the season.
Wyatt, what you just wanted Marquise Brown to flip him, or did you want to keep him for?
Oh, no, I want to keep him. I'm pretty big on him. I think that he, Lamar Jackson's going to continue to evolve as a passer. I have no doubt about that. Sammy Watkins is not going to help me this year, and I think his time is limited in the league, and he does have that boom potential. So I think he can help Mick win a week this year, potentially a championship if, he's going to have a 40-point week. I mean, it's just a matter of what week it is. So he's not doing that on my team. He's not helping me do that. Sterling Shepard for Marquise Brown, I feel like I don't mind that. I don't love the Giants offense. I just really like Marquise Brown. I think he's got a ton of potential. I'm not saying he's going to just flourish into this, top 5 wide receiver, but I certainly think he's got a really high ceiling. And then the picks for me, I had no problem getting rid of the 2022 second because I'm trying to get, 10 first rounders, and my second round, I think is going to be towards the top of the second round. So I might have 11 picks in a row in the draft. So I won't need more rookies in the next draft.
Right.
And, I just felt, for me, it's youth and potential, which is kind of what I'm building around right now. And I think it was a win-win.
Right. I think it was good for both sides. It's another trade that I was just kind of impartial to. But that takes us to my next trade. And this trade was with my younger brother who came to me needing a quarterback. He was in desperate need of a quarterback. I think he only had 2 quarterbacks on his roster, so he had no one in the backup. And so just looking for value, looking for bench depth, I took Golden Tate, who I think is going to be just a solid receiver. He was actually very sneaky good last year, and I think he is going to be pretty I think I can start him if I need to, if someone goes down. I don't plan on starting him, but again, it's just another depth piece where it keeps me safe from another injury where I win this year. And then I got a 2022 first thrown in that I can hopefully trade or maybe draft a rookie in 2 years. You never know. And so that takes us to yet another trade between Wyatt and Nick. And this trade was pretty crazy because Wyatt got a big boom bust guy for a lot of depth. So y'all talk us through that one really fast. What made you do this trade?
So for me, I love Jordan Love. I'm going to have to sit him for 2 years. I know that. That's fine with me. Alexander Madison, as of right now, Dalvin Cook is holding out. So if he ends up playing the first 2-3 weeks, man, watch out. I might have won 2-3 weeks, and that could be the difference between me making the third or fourth seed and missing the playoffs. And then for me, Denzel Mims, I think, is probably one of my favorite rookie wide receivers this year because of the situation. I think Sam Darnold is a very good quarterback talent, and he needs somebody to throw it to. Denzel Mims, I think, is a really good talent as well. I think that's somebody he's going to target a lot. Maybe not in year 1, but year 2 for sure. I think he's going to be an absolute goon. The 5th round picks, I think they're kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, those are pretty irrelevant.
I would have done it without the picks, but that's the offer he sent me, and I was like, I'm not going to say no, take those off. And then for Diggs, I like it for Wyatt as well because if Josh Allen can turn John Brown into a 1,000-yard receiver, just imagine what he could do to Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, so I will say this is probably the only trade that we're going to make over the course of the season. The first and the last where I have to submit an offer and have to RU 0. I done no counters, nothing. It just accepted it. He was like, I love it. That's it. And that was great for me because I just sent it. I'll sit there and tinker through my app or whatever on my phone sometimes if I have free time. And sometimes you just see something that makes sense. So for me, Madison, again, another situation that – kind of like Sammy Watkins, he's not going to help me win this year. And there's so many running backs on the market for next year that I think that Cook is going to play. So I don't think Madison's going to take over and be the starting guy for a year and then get signed somewhere else or be the starting back. And I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I think he's going to fill a role and could help me win weeks. And I don't need weeks this year. Doesn't help me. Jordan Love, I knew he liked. So I had no problem throwing that in there. I have an idea of who I'm drafting as far as quarterbacks next year in the first round, and I already have Mahomes and Goff. So I had no problem getting rid of Jordan Love, especially since he's going to be waiting a minute. And then Denzel Mims, I'm basically just upgrading Mims for Diggs. Again, I don't need the 2/5 because I'm going to have so many rookies. So Diggs is a big-name guy. I think he really is one of the best receivers in the NFL. So I don't know that Josh Allen is the perfect fit there, but do I think that he could have a ton of success? Absolutely. And realistically, if I had to guess, I'm going to end up trading him to try to acquire the last pick or 2 that I need for the first round. But he's good value. He's going to help someone win this year, I think, in the season. If not, I have no problem holding him, and I think he'll have a good career in Buffalo.
The other thing about Madison is Dalvin Cook is not a healthy person. Like, he is hurt all the time, and if that happens, I just got.
He's one of the most valuable handcuffs.
Yeah,
I can flip him so easily for way more than what I gave up.
Right. So that's going to take us to my brother and Jack Glover in our league made a pretty big trade here. Duncan, my brother, got a 2021 first.
I would just like to note the timestamps on this trade and the next trade. Just pay attention to how fast I act on this.
Yeah, this trade went by quick. So these
At
next
this
two
point,
trades,
I have 6 2021 first-round picks.
Right. So my brother, the main point of this trade is my brother got the 2021 first that Wyatt is looking for, and T.Y. Hilton, David Johnson, N'Keal Harry. These are all good depth plays. I think everyone's undervaluing David Johnson this year.
Same.
I think he's a pretty good flex depth play. You gave up Josh Allen, who, like you said, is a good quarterback, good fantasy quarterback. I think it was all around a good trade. I think my brother kind of won this one because of I think this is really good depth for him for a Dynasty League, and I think Josh Allen is not as good as everyone says. However, my brother quickly needed another quarterback because, as we said, he only has 2 quarterbacks again, and so Wyatt jumps on this and gives my brother Ryan Tannehill, who we all said I think is going to be good, and Hunter Renfrow, and acquires the 7th 2021 first that he owns, Brandon Ayuk and N'Keal Harry. I told my brother instantly after the trade was done, I think that he made a bad trade on this, but
I think basically what he did with this trade was just undo what he did in the last trade, which was take depth and the pick away. I don't know why he made this trade, but he offered me for Tannehill like moments after he traded away Josh Allen. So at that point, I just countered. I figured like he's desperate. He wants a quarterback. I countered with a trade that I thought benefited me, which was the pick, obviously, that I wanted. And then just depth and young guys. I like Ayuk this year. I think N'Keal Harry could be good with Cam Newton. So, I mean, yeah, we went back and forth a couple times. He ended up adding Renfro. I'm not sure why. I think I offered him something like a couple picks or Hines or something like that I thought was more valuable. He offered Renfro. I don't understand it on his part. I think he's regretting it now. But for me, I love getting the pick and I love getting the depth at receiver. I now have like 7 or 8 viable starting receivers with youth.
Yeah, I don't think it's super bad for Dunn. I don't think it was great, but I think he knows it wasn't great now. And I mean, he likes Ryan Tannehill, so I think it's not going to hurt his team as far as like this year. I don't think it's going to affect his starting lineup. I don't think N'Keal or Brandon Ayuk were going to start in his lineup. I just think he could have gotten way more value for that first than he did. But that's going to take us to the last trade that we have, and it was me. Just real quick, I needed some more tight end. I wanted more tight end depth. I have Higbee and Hurst, who I like both of them, but both of them could flop. And I had Jimmy Graham sitting on my bench, and I think I pretty much got TJ Hawkinson, I was listening to a podcast by Dynasty and Chill, and he was breaking down tight end production through their first year and based off how they end up. And TJ Hawkinson was finishing high up on the list on all of them, so that he has him as a buy now and for tight ends. So I was like, what do I just throw like Jimmy Graham in a 2022 third, not risking anything for that, for TJ Hawkinson for him to sit on my bench and maybe develop into a good tight end? I think it was a good value. I don't think it really was a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a good chance Jimmy Graham gets cut because that team has like 15 tight ends on their roster.
Yeah.
So if he gets cut, you just basically gave up a 3rd-round pick for TJ Hawkinson,
who's
young, good, and he has Matthew Stafford thrown to him, and Matthew Stafford is a gunslinger.
I think he's shown flashes that he could be valuable in the future.
Yeah, he's got the athleticism. He can catch the ball. He's solid. I just think it's going to take time, as most tight ends do, to find your place within the system and get a solid role in that offense. So TJ Hawkinson could absolutely pop this year. And you picked him up for a bag of chips. So.
All right, real quick. That was actually not the last trade. That was the last trade, but we actually just realized we skipped the trade earlier in the year. After I acquired Jonathan Taylor, who I knew Wyatt liked, I flipped him straight up for Chris Godwin, and Wyatt and I went back and forth on this for like I think 48 hours. Like it took so long.
Yeah,
I think originally
constantly.
this was going to be a 3-team trade.
Yeah, it was going to be a 3-team trade between all of us, but we just couldn't work it out. And Wyatt and I just went Chris Godwin.
No. So this took several forms. There were a lot of different possible trades that were going on, but I think what we eventually were going to do for the 3-team blockbuster trade was going to be you ended up with Godwin, and then Mick would end up with Jonathan Taylor, and I ended up with Clyde. But Mick, over the course of that 48 hours of nonstop negotiating, said, I'm done. I don't want any part of this. So we just said, hey, JT for Clyde or JT for Godwin straight up. That's what ended up happening, and I think it helped us both.
Yeah, I love this trade for me because, Jonathan Taylor's going to be good. Obviously, I think he's the most talented running back in that class, but I don't think he's going to be the type of impact on my team this year that I need. I think he's still going to split time with that 3-headed backfield enough to where he's not going to be Chris Godwin level of production. And I think Chris Godwin is going to be Tom Brady's go-to guy in that offense. So, yeah, I love getting Chris Godwin. Obviously, it helps Wyatt because he's going to be an absolute animal when Marlon Mack goes somewhere else. That's going to be the last trade we talk about, actually. But now we're going to go through our teams and break down real fast break down our lineups, just tell you what we have so that way you can keep up with all 3 of our teams. So for me, first we're going to start. I have Matt Ryan as my QB1, and then we go Saquon, Alvin Kamara, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, Tyler Higbee or Hayden Hurst. I haven't decided who I want there. And then my flex is Miles Sanders, Terry McLaurin, Robert Woods, and Drew Brees in my super flex right now. And on my bench, a few of the depth players I have Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield at quarterback, and Nick Foles is in. And then I have Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery, Tony Pollard, Deontay Johnson, AJ Green, Golden Tate, and then Hayden Hurst, TJ Hawkinson, Jack Doyle, Gerald Everett on my bench. And so I think that's a great team for win now. I think I'm in a really good spot to win right now. There's a few other teams that I'm worried about, but I think I am going to, barring anything crazy, I think I'm in a good spot.
Yeah, you definitely are. Just keep in mind if you're watching at home and you're like, my team looks nothing like that. How do you have so many good players? This man has no picks for like 5 years.
Oh yeah, let's break
So
down my picks real fast. Out of the 15 picks, this is all I have left. So yeah, this
Oh,
is
man.
That's terrible.
That is it. Yeah.
I also drafted well, and I think I have a good team, but I also bought a lot of players with future picks. So like if you're thinking about your lineup not looking like that, it's because I traded away a lot of picks.
Yeah,
But
you definitely
it's
need
for
to
win
pick
now.
a strategy for when you were trying to win and how long you were trying to win.
I think I
So,
executed my strategy to absolute perfection, at least so
absolutely.
far, which was to win this year and hopefully next year. So that takes us to Nick's team real fast, or whoever's going to click Wyatt's team first. And he's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
start with Patrick Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, Tyler Boyd, Hollywood, Noah Fant, Ayuk, Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Jared Goff in his super flex, and some notable bench spots. His quarterback looks rough. But after that, he has J.K. Dobbins,
Yes, sir.
Hines, McFarland, N'Keal Harry, Jerry Jeudy, Jonnu Smith, Chris Herndon, and the mother load of the Infinity Gauntlet, 7 of the 10 first-round picks next year. So he has executed to perfection the punt the first year and play for the future, and he has an absolutely
perfection yet.
he has an
Perfection means
absolutely
he gets
stacked running back core.
I will
perfection
be
means he
getting
has
all
all
10
10.
first-round picks. That
Right.
will be happening.
So that's a really good start to Wyatt's win in the future strategy.
I would just like to point out, bring up my roster real quick. All right, so Jonathan Taylor, I think top 5 back next year. Cam Akers, fringe
hit or
top
miss.
10 back next year. Yeah, it could be hit or miss. I love CeeDee Lamb. I love my young receivers, but J.K. Dobbins, like I think I'm gonna be somewhat kind of nasty for about 5 to 10 years.
He is gonna. I mean,
For
he's
what?
gonna be. He's gonna
Honestly,
be really
now
good
that
in the
I'm
future.
looking at this, I don't think you're all that terrible for this year. I don't think
That's
you're
what I
finishing
was
last.
debating, right? That's what I was thinking about. I was like, do I contend for a playoff spot? And then at one point, I don't remember what trade it was that I was like,
There's no
all
way
right,
he
I'm
beats this
punting.
roster.
I'm not saying I beat
No, I'm
that
not.
roster.
Yeah,
I'm saying, do I sneak in a playoff spot? Do I just happen to get lucky? I don't think it's
Possible.
impossible. I
Anything's
think my
possible.
rookies would have to absolutely just show out, but you never know.
Yeah, and that takes us to Nick Webb, who has Deshaun Watson, who could be good, could not be good. You never know. Austin Eckler, Clyde, DK
Oh.
Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, AJ Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, Sterling Shepard, Daniel Jones, and then some notable bench: Dwayne Haskins, Alexander Madison, Zach Moss, Keyshawn Vaughn, Sammy, Alan Lazard, Paris Campbell, Jalen Rager, LaVishka, Michael Pittman, Denzel Mims, Colin Johnson, Brian Edwards, Chase Claypool, really
Love the
hammering home the
rookies.
rookie wide receivers.
love the rookies.
And then Mike Gesicki on the bench, and pretty solid pick depth. Not many many firsts, but he does have a lot of good picks in the later rounds of later drafts. So I think he executed his strategy very well.
Yeah, I love all the
really
rookies
young.
because I mean I only need a hit on 2 or 3 of them. I can only start so many. So if a
And
lot of
this
them are
roster
busts,
right here-
oh well.
This roster
That's-
right here has a lot of – I don't think anyone is super old in this roster besides Emmanuel Sanders. And I think that's definitely a roster that could make the playoffs if things shake out right. So I think he executed his middle-of-the-pack strategy very well.
I definitely think it's going to go one way or the other very quickly into the season because you do start seeing people after their first few weeks deciding what route they want to take as far as are they punting, are they contending this year? And I think Mick's going to know very quickly, depending on how some of those key guys end up performing, whether he's going to be, selling guys for picks and trying to get some youth, or if he is contending for this year. I definitely think it's going to be interesting to see. So I'm excited.
So that is going to do it for our trade breakdown video, our trade strategies. We showed you how we all just went about the last month after the draft. We showed you all the trades that went down and how we thought our trades went and why it helped our certain strategy and how you can use whatever strategy you decide of those 3, because I think those are the 3 main strategies, how you can kind of attack your trades leading up to the season. I think you can look at all 3 of us, and I think we've all 3 did our strategy very well. I'm pretty impressed with all 3 of our strategies. I think you can definitely learn from one, pick whichever one you like, and definitely kind of follow that mold and how we did it. With that being said, if you like these one-man dynasty breakdowns, we love doing these because it's pretty much what we talk about 24/7 is our leagues. If you want to see us break down more rosters, maybe some other teams in the league, and see how we think people are going to place. We could maybe do a projections video on how we think it's going to make it closer to the season. Just let us know what you think about this kind of video. We love doing them. And that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're very sorry that we had a gap of a few days without a video. Nick was on vacation with his family, and Wyatt had his wisdom teeth out, so we kind of had a little bit of kind of an off weekend. Took a break, but we're back at it and try to produce videos.
It won't
daily.
happen again.
We're back into the full swing of things. All our vacations are done. We plan on bringing you a ton of content for the rest of the summer, and hopefully throughout the season, if it happens, we're hoping it goes down. So thank you guys so much for watching. Go follow us on Twitter at the FF Addicts. We're definitely shooting up in followers there. And thank you guys so much for watching. This has been another episode of the Fantasy Football Addicts. Thank you.
Draft Clyde.